Today I'm going to talk about the diet that reversed the plaque in my carotid arteries in my neck in just 3 months. You think a vegan diet is hard? Well, this diet is even more specialized vegan diet. Plaque in the carotid arteries is indicative of plaque everywhere else in the brain and the heart and the rest of the body. The fact that I've reversed these in 3 months means that over time I could also reverse the plaque in my heart because these are smaller vessels and the curvature of these vessels are more complicated, so it takes longer for those plaques to remodel and change. This is the initial evidence because first, the plaque in the carotids have a much more likelihood of leading indicator for plaque reversal. Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Ham from Vancouver, Canada. So what is the diet? Diet's actually very simple because it's so restrictive. And this was developed by a cardiac surgeon of the renowned Cleveland Clinic. And he did this in the 80s and 90s for 24 of his most extreme patients that already had stents and bypasses, took every heart medication, and yet they were still having heart attacks, chest pain, shortness of breath. So he did his research and he found that this would eliminate a lot of the risk. But in principle, what he wanted to do is revive the inner lining of the blood vessels called the endothelium that would release nitric oxide, which would expand the blood vessels, thereby relieve the symptoms in a matter of days to weeks. This benefit allowed them to function in life because there was no other medical intervention that they could have besides maybe a heart transplant. So here's the diet that he figured out and that worked, and I read his book, Preventing and Reversing Heart Disease by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn Jr. I read this book 10 years ago, and so when I found out I had high calcium score, I decided to go on this diet the next day. So I've been very fortunate that even though I'm a medical doctor, I was never taught that plaque in the arteries could reverse, and many doctors I meet also say, I never knew that. But I had read this book 10 years ago. So what's the diet? It's a low-fat vegan diet. What's a low-fat vegan diet? It means that the fat can only be 10% of your calories. So typically that means less than 20 grams of fat. That's virtually nothing because almost every food has some form of fat. Any relevant meal will have some form of fat. And so you have to be very precise and very particular. And in the first 3 months, I was like that. I was eating the same meals. I was very precise because my life was at risk. I had severe plaques in my arteries. So no animals, no seafood, no derivatives of those two. So you're vegan, but also in the vegan world, no nuts, no oils, no coconut, no avocado. And you also have to be extremely careful of soy products. You can eat soy products, but if you just have 1 cup of edamame beans, that's 8 grams of fat. If you have 2 cups, that's 16. If you have 3 cups, that's 24. You're over your allotment. So how much does this drop my LDL cholesterol? Because LDL cholesterol is my only risk factor for all this blockage. 77% blockage in my heart, 51% multi-vessel blockage in my heart vessels. Normal blood pressure, no diabetes. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I'm very active. I exercise. My LDL was 168. In just 5 weeks, it dropped by 50% to 84. In 3 months, it dropped to 61. That's about a 64% drop. And if I'd continued in being precise in keeping my fat under 20 grams, it would have went to 50 and then hopefully even 40, and I would have rapid reversal in my heart. But as I started eating foods that exceeded the 20 grams, I just realized this because when I did the blood test in January, my LDL cholesterol had risen to 79. And I thought, what increased this? Well, I was eating more chia seeds because I thought it was good. I was eating more flaxseed. I was eating edamame and soy for protein, but I had too much fat. So I calculated I was eating 70 to 80 grams of fat over the last 3 months. And so my LDL had started to rise instead of decrease. So I fixed that. My goal is to get to an LDL of 50, right? So my best was 61. My plaque in my neck, my carotid arteries reversed, but I want to continue that. What does my breakfast look like? Here it is. Oh, it doesn't look as appetizing as a gourmet breakfast. Well, I'm healing. So a cast on a leg is not great. Crutches is not great. But if you want to heal your broken leg, you put the cast on for 3 months or 2 months. You use crutches and you don't walk on that broken leg. Well, I have fractured arteries. That could kill me. I could have a heart attack. I could have a stroke. So I am going to cast, and my cast is cutting out all the things that I should not eat that build up plaque and further obstruct my arteries, or eat this meal that helps me heal. So I eat steel cut oatmeal. Why? Because it has a lot of oat bran and fiber and lignans that absorb the cholesterol, help the cholesterol get out through the bile acid in my digestive system. So oatmeal can decrease my LDL cholesterol by like 10%. What do I also add to that? Because I'm a low-fat vegan, I need some omega-3, so I added the flaxseed and the chia seeds for fiber. My diet was that alone is like 50% fiber. That also lowers my cholesterol. Flaxseed better than chia seed. That is a good breakfast in itself, but you have to really watch it. I am eliminating flaxseed and chia seeds for the next 3 months. I'll take flaxseed occasionally, 1 teaspoon here and there, but I'm really trying to lower my fat intake. That is my primary staple food for my first meal. I will add greens like arugula, kale, spinach on top of it. You can eat it separately, but I just add it on top. Why? Because that increases nitric oxide that revive the blood vessels, release nitric oxide, which expands the blood vessels. I add that, and I add a cup of berries that are antioxidants. I add matcha or green tea powder, also for the antioxidant effect. I read this study, and you can see it here. It's like 1 red grapefruit each day for 30 days can lower cholesterol from 5 to 10%. This was astounding to me. It can lower LDL cholesterol in a very short period of time, and here is the study that shows the result. My second meal is basically a big green salad with a few pomegranates on top, some beans for protein, lentils the best, then black beans. Chickpeas is a distant third. Why? Because lentils has 22 grams of protein for every 1 gram of fat. You can get a lot of protein because you can't eat animals or seafood. Protein is hard to come by in a vegan diet. Then there's black beans that you get 17 grams of protein for every 1 gram of fat. My aim is to get 85 grams of protein. I will have to eat 4 servings of this, and I'll have 4 grams of fat. But chickpeas is a 4-to-1. If I have 80 grams of protein, I will have 20 grams of fat. So just that one meal with chickpeas, I'll max out my fat maximum of 20 grams of fat in a day. I don't think I'm going to put chickpeas. Before I wasn't as knowledgeable, but now I'm understanding all the macronutrients and how much fat is in every food. My meals are really simple. When I go out to eat, basically I say I'm vegan. I don't eat oils, nuts, coconut, avocado, or what can I eat? That's the hardest part of doing this diet is when you socialize or go out to eat, you have to have strategies. I boughtened the beans, and I could just rip open the box, and I could have 1, 2, or 3 servings of beans, and I could just put it on any salad, right? And I just say all sauces on the side. I don't want any of the oils. I want them all on the side. I want no nuts. I want no cheese, and so forth. That is a simple strategy. You want to know more details about the diets and the specific, you could read about it here in my newsletter. So not only did it lower my cholesterol, Dr. Esselstyn found that plaque reversal only happened in his patients that had LDL cholesterol less than 15 with low inflammation. And so my goal, after listening to many experts and doctors, to get a LDL and another blood test called ApoB less than 55. These are my two primary goals, and also raise my HDL so that it reverses plaque. So these two combination is my goal in the next 3 months to get back on track. And there's a lot of education, but also my inflammatory markers reduced drastically. I have virtually zero inflammation, therefore zero oxidation. The only other measure that I need to reduce is the glucose on my proteins and fat. This is called glycation. This is one of the causes of diabetes. When you have too much glucose or sugar in your blood, it attaches to your protein and makes them sticky. They don't work as well. You get insulin resistance and all these other bad effects, and over a long period of time. So it's just really fixing the body chemistry that helps get rid of plaque, which is very hard to do. You can see that doctors will think it's virtually impossible to reverse plaque, but I've done it in myself and my carotids. But here's my thinking. In 2.5 to 3 years, even though right now I am one of the worst kind of people with heart disease because I have so much obstruction, but I have pretty good blood flow, 80% blood flow in a 77% obstruction because of this strategy of dietary measures. And it's been proven by Esselstyn, proven by another doctor on the West Coast, Dr. Dean Ornish. And so we have this, and it's already been shown in past generations. People eating whole foods, and the macros actually didn't matter. But when we have disease, we have to be very precise and specific, and surgical is the word I would use. So thank you, and I hope that you listen to this video a couple times and then go read this newsletter that explains in much more detail. Thank you.